Hi, I'm Michael Sean Conaway with Boldly Now. I have the great honor and privilege of interviewing and speaking with Michael Tellinger. Michael is a South African author, politician, explorer, and the founder of the Ubuntu Party. Michael, welcome to One Earth Live and our talks today. Tell me, like in this time of COVID, the one thing that I think is really fascinating is that it's a unifying experience. We're all experiencing a very similar thing in our lives, in our cultures and our societies. And, the world has become, or at least we now can see the interconnectedness of the world. Tell me, what is it like where you're at today and what's happening for you and your family?
Well, hi, Michael. Thank you for having this chat with me. I really look forward to the wonderful event, connecting a lot of talented people and conscious people and people with wonderful messages across the world. I'm very honored to be part of it. Well, we're in South Africa. You may or may not know, Africa is the least affected continent by COVID. It's actually incredible when you look at what's going on here. We got 1.3 or 1.2 billion people on the African continent, with fewer, if I recall, fewer than 5,000 deaths. Wow. I think it's less than 2,000 deaths or something. I'm not sure what the latest numbers are, but it's just insane. And you start seeing something is not quite right. There's a whole nother agenda going on here. So obviously a lot more people are waking up and getting very angry and upset about this. So South Africa, I think, is the worst hit of all the African countries at this stage. And yet I think we've got less than 200 deaths in the whole of South Africa, right? And 60 million people and 200 deaths, and the whole country is closed down. And your mind starts to play games and go, what's going on here? Okay, what is the game here? And so what is happening here is that it is forcing people to wake up. We've all been locked down, 8 billion people under lockdown, and it does force us to look within and really evaluate our lives. Are we happy with the way the world is going? Are we happy with our personal lives? Do I want to go back to work and work like a slave? The problem is that some of us have the privilege of being able to do that, to contemplate that. Some people, and a lot of people, especially in Africa, because of this lockdown, are not in a position to do that because they have no electricity. We're going into winter now. They're cold, they're hungry, they got no food, they got no income, and it is tough and hard. It is literally like throwing people in a concentration camp and letting them rot. It is disgusting what's going on, and I feel a deep sadness and pain for what's happening to billions, not just millions, but billions of people around the world that have no hope for the future. They don't know when this is going to end. They don't know what they're going to do when it ends. They have no work, no job, nothing. They've lost everything. This is a huge cleansing process. So I don't know what's going to happen when we come out of this, but we better find something good for people to come back to. And that's really where I come in with the Ubuntu Liberation Movement's message of hope for the world. And for those people that know me will know I've been doing this for a long time, since 2005. I've been talking about this, about creating a whole new social structure for the world that works completely differently from the capitalist model that we find ourselves in. And I think more and more people are discovering that the system that we have just doesn't work for us. It doesn't serve us, doesn't work for us. When things go wrong, people get stranded, they lose everything. Surely this can't be what life is all about, right? And so in many ways, as terrible and as painful as this is for many, many people, and I feel really blessed that I'm not one of those people that's suffering because we have enough funds in the bank for us to survive this period, although my business is gone. I've lost my business, but I'm not on the street hungry, right? So I believe that this is really paving a way for people to find the Ubuntu movement, find the message of one small town can change the world.
Right.
And when they've discovered and embraced it and realize what it is about, how simple it is, and how we can turn our towns into unimaginable places of prosperity and abundance for everyone, very, very simply and very, very quickly, I think this is the opportunity for people to find us and find the message and go, this is what we need for the future. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. I've been doing this for 1.5 decades now, spreading this message. And I think the time has come for this message to finally take root. The seeds have been planted over a long period. It's now to take root and start to sprout.
Yeah, I think some of the collapse, and also just the seeing how fragile this kind of incredibly global complex system is. Like this, a small virus broke it in a matter of, a couple of weeks, broke the pinnacle of, like Western society, civilization, economics in 2 weeks. And it's like, is it really that? I mean, like, is that really the best we can do? It's like an incredibly fragile system, as you said, that has billions of people out of work, out of food. And I think we complain here I think in the Western countries, we complain about losing our civil liberties, but we're not complaining about not having electricity or food. And I think the one of the things that our audience really needs to get is that this is and it's not the virus that's causing this; it's a system that has failed us. I mean, either A, there's, like you say, something's going on, or B, we were only prepared, we're only optimizing for profit. And while only optimizing for profit globally, then something else comes along like health, that we're not optimized for. We're not any good at it. We're just not good at pandemics. Why are we not good at pandemics? Because it didn't make anybody any money. So tell me a little bit more about Ubuntu and how that, what is that as an alternative to, and just let's, a lot of our audience have never heard of your work or the Ubuntu movement. Just give us a little overview.
Well, first I need to maybe just direct people to our website where there are videos, very short explanation about what the Ubuntu movement is about, our origins, where we come from. This is not something that started last week or last year. As I mentioned, it's been around since 2005, so 15 years. Right. And we've learned a lot. We've gone into politics. We've learned a great deal about what not to do. That's been our greatest teacher. Right. And by basically 2016, I realized that all the routes that we took were just going pretty much the same route as all the other movements in the past that have failed, and that is taking the route, even into politics. We assumed or believed that we could inject a virus of consciousness into the political beast. And I tried that in 3 separate elections in South Africa over an 8-year period. And then we tried it in the UK, we tried it in Australia. We launched the party in Canada, and we almost launched it in the USA. So it became a global movement, and also was starting to become a political movement globally. Just just hope for, thank goodness that in the nick of time, we realized that that's the wrong way to go. Because all it does is the moment you get involved in politics, you enter the game of opposition and conflict. And this party opposes that party. And that's old paradigm thinking. We can't continue thinking like this. Because what happens? So this party wins, and there's 49 of you, 51 of you that say this is right, and 49 that don't like it. So it's our way or the highway. That's not a solution. So what I realized is that the entire political system was completely and utterly rigged globally. It's rigged for an outcome that is controlled by those people that run the world through the financial and banking systems, as many of your viewers or listeners may know. And if they don't, you will get all this information on the Ubuntu Planet website, ubuntuplanet.org, right? Or onesmalltown.org, and take you to the same website. And once you realize what money is, how it was introduced to humanity some 6,000 years ago, how it was then perfected into the money system, the financial system we have today, some 270 years ago by the Rothschild Empire, and you start seeing this is an entirely, utterly synthetically created control tool to control and enslave humanity. And then you realize, okay, well, how do we get out of it? And that's when the horror of horrors hits home, when you realize that there is no way out of it. They have closed every door. They control the legal systems, they control the governments, they control the judges, they control the armies, the police. Everything is stacked against humanity. It looks like we've been given liberties and freedom and choices. It seems like it and appears like that, but those are just small little liberties and choices, and a selection of choices that we're presented with under the guise of freedom and liberty. Right. And millions of people have obviously figured this out, and there has never really been a way to get out of it, because you can't do it with politics, you can't do it with resistance. If you rise up, they'll crush you because they got the army and the military might. So how the hell do you get out of it? And that's when that moment of enlightenment and emancipation happened in 2016, when suddenly I realized, hold on, Buckminster Fuller actually said this already. earlier in the 20th century when Buckminster Fuller said, you don't change a system by fighting it. You change a system by creating something new that makes the existing system obsolete.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. We can't get involved in politics. Let's do something that's never been done. Let us use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. And that has now literally become our slogan for the One Small Town Can Change the World strategy. It is so simple that when people first come into contact with us or start to embrace this, they start to question, oh, well, how is this going to work? How is it possible? It's too simple. It looks too simple. It sounds too simple. Yes, because it is. And simple is good. So we have a very simple solution to get out of this mess called One Small Town Can Change the World. And it starts in small towns. And it literally starts with the mayor and the people of a town taking control of their own town. We bring in our own source of electricity. This is really important. I'm not going to go into the detail about it now because we don't have enough time. But we bring in our own source of electricity so the town has its own source of electricity. That becomes the foundation for all the businesses, the projects, the community projects, and the businesses that we launch in that town. Everything in the town is co-owned by the people and the investors that come in to fund whatever businesses we start. Everybody is required to contribute just 3 hours a week, just 3 hours a week to the community projects or the businesses that we set up. And everybody that contributes 3 hours a week automatically becomes a 1/3 shareholder in all the collective of all the businesses that we set up. So by literally contributing a fraction of your time out of 168 hours a week, you contribute 3 hours towards the community projects that, there'll be a whole system that will be allocated or set up for the allocation of where you are required and where your skills are needed and so forth. That's all simple. These are all computer systems that exist. We have this technology. We're not stupid. We know how to do this and how to set this up. And literally within a small town of say 5,000 or 10,000 people, overnight, through our collaborative, cooperative labor force, our town becomes not only the co-owner of all the businesses that we start with the various investors that come in, but we suddenly become an immediate and a direct competition to all the large corporations of the world. And we can literally compete with anyone we choose, whether it's manufacturing cars or building supercomputers or creating new cures for all kinds of disease or new technology. Whatever it is we choose, we can do because we have this insane amount of free labor that is available for all our projects. This is such a spectacular example how when we start competing against each other, the way that we've grown up with capitalism, everything in our world and our life is based on making money and capitalism and competing and being the best to get to the top of the pile. And then, you're king of the castle. And then somebody wants to push you off so that they become the king of the castle. That's obviously not a solution.
Right.
So through the Ubuntu movement, our 15-year passage of learning of what not to do, this has slowly but surely evolved into what I call a fully evolved and mature strategy to create a new world without fighting the existing system by using money, using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation, using money, capitalism, corporate structure, the greed of capitalism through investors, using everything that the capitalist system has thrown at us. We take it and we use it so that it works for us and supports us and benefits us. The only thing we change is we change competition into cooperation and collaboration. And it's incredible. That one little thing, how everything changes. One of the most inspiring and reassuring things that have happened to me in the last 4 years since we launched the One Small Town strategy in 2016 has been a number of high profile or small accountants or business strategists and people that set up companies and businesses and the bean counters. And they, you obviously understand that they're used to running the books in a specific way. This is how it works, profits and this and debits and balances and all these things. And when I share this information with them, the immediate reaction is always, oh, no, I don't know how that's going to work. Explain to me how this is going to work. So I indulge them and I take them through the processes, how it's going to work. And I've had probably about half a dozen from, reasonably small business project managers and so forth to very high profile accountants that run billion-dollar companies that called me back, didn't just not respond, they actually took the time and the effort to email me or call me back and saying, listen, I've been working through your numbers, through the numbers of this model that you shared with me. And I must tell you, it's amazing. No matter which way I stack the numbers, this contributionist model always comes out better than the capitalist model. No matter which way I stack the numbers, it is quite remarkable. So I've called it a self-correcting system. And I truly believe this because every single problem we face as the human race, no matter whether it's healthcare, poverty, homelessness, technology, you think of a problem, you throw it into that one small town pot as a problem to solve, and it will solve itself. Because the solutions come not from me or from individuals, that come from within the community. So if you imagine yourself in that community and you imagine what world would be like in that community, the answers and the solutions come naturally, because it will always be for the greatest benefit of everyone in the community, not the greatest benefit for him or her or the mayor or the council. It's got to benefit the whole community, and you'll see how simple the solutions are once we start adopting that kind of approach. It is unbelievable. Not only that, Michael, the spectacular thing is that once the small town, under the leadership of a mayor, it obviously has to be a conscious mayor that drives this thing. Once we have our own electricity supply and our electricity generator that provides us our own electricity, that means that all the money that we normally pay towards electricity bills that leave our town, that money stays in our community. So now we have $1 million or more every month to use for upgrading our town and setting up projects and businesses for our community that belong to all those in the community that participate in the projects. It is such a simple model. No one is forced to do this. It's not compulsory. So the beautiful thing about this is that if we find a mayor that actually sees the wisdom and the benefits to his or her town, the mayor doesn't even need to get consensus from any of the people, because the people might not understand it. They might think it's some sort of a communist plot or to entrap them to work for free, or people have weird ideas. So the mayor might just say, well, that's okay. Nobody has to participate.
Right.
By simply inserting or implementing the electricity supply, the generator, the mayor has already brought independence to his or her community.
Right.
And retains all the money for that community, and that mayor can then start doing incredible and unimaginable things every month for that community. And very quickly the people will see, oh my goodness, I see what you mean. I didn't understand it when you were explaining it to us. I see what you mean now. Okay, well, I want to participate. Yes, thank you. I will go and, do whatever needs to be done for 3 hours a week. And what do I get in return? I get some free electricity, and I get milk and bread and clothes and computers and whatever we make in our town
that we need. Yeah. I love these ideas. And I've watched some of your videos and heard you speak before, and it's really shaped my thinking around what collective thriving can be. Right now we have selective thriving, and I wouldn't even say the thriving that we have that's selective, and it's usually selective by wealth.
Selective survival. Yeah. So selective thriving by very, very few, and selective surviving by the
everybody else. Yeah. And we're not selecting that. But the other thing I really like about, the one small town is and this is a principle that Boldly Now really supports, which is hyperlocalism. A small town knows what's needed.
Exactly.
And they know the rhythms of the land and the cycles of things. They know the culture and the people, and this kind of top down, father knows best, patriarchal version of governance we've had forever. It doesn't even work in the United States or European countries, which are European is even more local than the US, but it falls apart because nobody can really say on those levels. Now we'd also hold that there is some need for some centralized governance, mostly around protecting the planet and protecting people's rights. But beyond that, I really, really think this one small town approach is really the kind of in any way you do that, but as long as it's localized. I also think this is great about the electricity. Tell me Tell me about I know you have some passion on this. Tell me about the banking portion of that. What do those towns do with their funds? Do they put them in the typical traditional banks, or are you encouraging some kind of localized banking as well?
Once again, that answer will come from the community.
Right.
You know, I'll make some suggestions. I'll suggest, because I've obviously been working with this for many years. So I have some ideas that have evolved and changed again over the years. At this stage, we need to make sure that those funds are secure, that nobody can run off with that money. So the first thing, because that might happen, because everybody around our town still is in the capitalist model and so forth. But what needs to happen is right up front, whatever system, the financial system is set up in that town, that communal structure must ensure that nobody can run off with that money or transfer it into a private offshore bank account somewhere and it just vanishes, this has been happening in governments at the highest level in the USA, in South Africa, and it happens in all the countries. So it's the number one thing that we need to guard against as that community. So a very strong influence and control mechanism needs to be in place by a community council or a council of representatives of the people, and not just the mayor and the council that is appointed by the mayor or the government or whoever is responsible for that council. And the other the other important thing is that the moment you start doing this, we don't live in an isolated town or an isolated country. We live in a global village. Facebook and YouTube and the internet connects us within seconds.
Right.
So I have no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that the moment this happens in a small town and we start doing this, we implement that new electricity technology generator. First of all, everybody is going to want to know what the generator and what the technology is all about, because that's what I get all the time. And I say, that is only going to be released to the mayor that wants to implement this. This is not to be released to individuals for their homes. And this is why it's called one small town and not one small house or one small home. Because what we're doing, once again, we're using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. Even the electricity is used. We're using the electricity platform so that everybody benefits equally, not some benefit more than others. Everybody has access to the same electricity. And if you contribute your 3 hours a week, then you get free electricity.
Yeah.
It's simple.
You call this contributionism, right? That's the word you guys have coined. I love that. One of our
contributions.
Our big things is discovering your gifts and figuring out where you can contribute, what you can contribute to. What are you giving more than what are you getting in the world? And we know that social psychology tells us that we're happy if we're contributing and giving. So you're not only giving somebody a way to participate in this new economic engine, but you're actually giving them a chance to actually feel like they're contributing and making a difference in their local community. That's really great. And anything that's going on right now that's getting ready to launch for 2020, or has anything changed for you guys with COVID? Is there a change in urgency or interest or anything like that going on?
Well, other than losing our business completely, because I'm in the tourism business, I take people on tours of the ancient ruins and showing them the ancient ruins and civilizations in my museum. And it was really that study of the ancient civilizations and the ruins that led me to the discovery of the origins of money and how banking evolved 6,000 years ago by these royal bloodlines that still control the banking industry today. So if people are confused about how to connect a guy that studies ancient civilizations and modern banking, you learn about modern banking and ancient civilizations, where it comes from. And at exactly the same bills of exchange, promissory notes, checks, and bills of exchange and negotiable instrument principles are used in the modern banking today as they were used 6,000 years ago. It's spectacular. Nothing has changed. So that tells us very clearly that the entire Babylonian black magic money system was introduced into humanity as a slavery system.
Right.
We know how to get out of it. For millennia, and especially the last 250 years, since the rise of the Rothschild banking empire, people have been murdered, tortured, kidnapped, extorted, silenced to keep the Rothschild banking empire in control of the world. And we now have figured out a way to get out of it by not fighting them, by using their systems so that they actually end up benefiting us and undermining the value of their systems. So what's going to happen in this one small town is that we're going to use less and less money because everything we create for ourselves is free, while we keep making more and more money with our very successful business because we're exporting everything we make. But we're not using the money. And suddenly people start to realize, oh, wow, I have all this money, but unless I go somewhere else, I don't need to spend it on anything. And suddenly people realize, oh, wow, we don't really need money. Look how much we've got and we're not using the money. And it's at that moment that we have a real shift in consciousness. That is the ultimate and final shift in consciousness, when people realize that money does nothing. People do everything. And literally, it'll slow very steadily. I think we'll see a slow but steady eradication of money. And one day we wake up and actually look back and go, we haven't used money in 2 or 3 years. What happened?
How do we manage that? How do we manage that superstition called money?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
And you know, what I'd like to say as well, Michael, is that events like this have been very interesting to me, especially musical events, because as you may or may not know, I come from a musical background. I was a musician for 10 years of my life, from when I left school until I was about 28. Professional musician. I played gigs, I toured, I made albums, and I was very successful as a musician in South Africa. And so I know how powerful musicians and a message are and can be. But what I do find, that as conscious as many of the musicians are, and as beautiful as their lyrics are, and as beautiful as their messages are, outside of that message of hope and unity and so forth, it's not followed by a plan of action. Or, okay, well, we live in a terrible world. You know, you lift people up. They come to the concert and you lift them up. You give them a sense of euphoria for 2 or 3 hours, or a whole day at a festival, or 2 days, or a weekend at a festival. That people come back all charged up and euphoric from these music festivals, and they come back to their miserable lives and they hit a low and a depression because they back in the prison, back in the slave camp, and they wonder what the hell happened. I had such an incredible time connecting with all these amazing, conscious, spiritually gifted people, and then I come back to this.
Right.
There must be something better than this. How do we get out of this? So my very urgent and clear message to all the musicians, all the conscious musicians of the world is, go carry on doing what you're doing. Inspire the people, lift their hopes, lift their spirits, but then give them a solution.
Right.
And if you don't have a solution, then study the one small town strategy. And if that resonates with you, then tell people about it. I can't force you to tell them because it might not resonate with you. But if it does resonate with you, then leave your people at your concerts and on your videos. Tell them about One Small Town, because you as a musician will benefit from it. You will have unlimited access to performing and playing the best gigs you can ever imagine without ever worrying about making money and paying your expenses as a musician. So it benefits everybody. So that's really my message to the conscious and aware and enlightened musicians out there. Find out about the One Small Town and become part of the solution, and not just raising people's hopes and then dropping them back into their world of misery.
Yeah, we're with you, Michael, on that. Certainly looking for solutions and things that people can get to work on, real in-action type stuff. Well, Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. We love your message. Big supporters of the Ubuntu movement. Anything we can do to help and support One Small Town, you can count on us. And we look forward to talking ongoingly, you know, as these projects get moving and we start seeing some of the results. I think the localized nature of this and the kind of specific local solutions that are going to come up are going to be very inspiring for the rest of the world to see. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. And I just want to say on a closing note, we are getting a lot of interest every day. I'm inundated with literally hundreds of emails from people from all over the world. Thousands of people are finding us every day, and hundreds of emails are reaching me every day. People that want to get involved, that want to be proactive, want to do something. And that's really my message. Do something. Go to our website, read the suggestions as to what you can do and how you can get involved, so you can be a seed of consciousness in your community. Can you imagine if everybody that sees this video goes out there and tells 10 people, and they tell 10 people, how quickly we can spread this message? Within 1 year, we'll have 300 million people around the world spreading this message. That's how quickly this can spread.
Great. Thank you, Michael, and good luck in all your endeavors. We'll check back in shortly.